All right, where's my coffee? Oh, it's out there. But here's an update on the Sprint. Playing with fiberglass and epoxy. Here, I'll let you take a look. It's a mess, but that's the way I work. I work in messes, see? Here's the motor that I still got to work on. It runs, I just haven't finalized it, but it actually is fixed and working, so I need a boat to put it on, and here's the boat. Probably seen my videos before with the rotted out stringers. All of these stringers were rotted out. I've replaced them, and I'm fiberglassing. I'm learning as I go. I've done a good job and a terrible job. And actually, it's strong as heck. Here, let me climb aboard. I'm doing things differently. I'm sure it's not Rojo approved, but it's the way I'm doing it. It's the way I figured it out. Here's the stringers. They needed 5/8 inch board. They didn't have 5/8 inch where I went to, so 1/2 inch board it is. Multiple layers of fiberglass. Makes it strong as heck. I cannot move this stuff for nothing. This right here has 2 layers on this side, and then 2 layers on this side, and it is phenomenally strong. Rojo's, what is it called? 1708 or something, I think. It's his biaxial fiberglass mat is the best. This here is not his. I bought this, there's a roll of it where I got it's not Coosa board, it's the Divicel or whatever, and I don't like it. It mats up like this. It does these things. His stuff was awesome, and that's what I used right here. And I'll continue to use. And what I'm doing is different. I'm not going over the top of these. I go up to them on the sides, on both sides. I'll seal up the top later with fiberglass. What I'm doing is I'm leaving a little bit of top on the side. When I come up the sides with the fiberglass, I leave a little bit and I cut it off with my bread knife. You know, this was just done yesterday, so it's still a little soft and it's easy to cut with a bread knife. I love it, actually. It works out great. What it allows me to do too is the height is not perfect. So I actually have the Divicel, it's probably not pronounced right, but there's a deck right there that I made. That's a big piece of deck. It's 5x4, and that's gonna be the piece right here where my feet are. So that is gonna lay down here. But what I was saying was doing it this way allows me to do by running up the sides of the stringers and then cutting them to size. It allows me to get the height corrected, because essentially you could just cut here with a bread knife the perfect height for the stringers. So I want to leave about 1/4 inch, and then I'm gonna fill the. Here, I still have to put another layer of fiberglass up here, and then there'll be like 1/4 inch or something that I'll fill with fiberglass, and that'll seal the top of that Divicel when I lay down the deck. So I kind of think that's cool. Different way to do it. I'm sure others do it different. So that's cool. I'll have this first 5x4 piece of deck on top of here soon. And then what I'm doing here is this area is where you seat. You'll sit here in the boat, kind of like this, right? Here, let me move over here to the front of the boat. It's not going to be that high. It's actually probably going to be more like this high. But instead of having the deck to this level, which is where it was originally, the deck would be here, I'm lowering it. Not lowering it a lot, right? But it's going to be lowered. I actually do have Kusa board. I'm going to reinforce the perimeter and the underneath so that I'll have a lower deck right here so that when you sit, old people like me, it's easier to get up. Because you know how low bass boat seats are. I want to have a little bit higher where I could stand up a lot easier. And since I'm redoing this boat, I didn't want to just put it back to factory specs. I wanted a customized boat. So I'm changing it. I'm lowering that portion of the deck. That's not the piece of wood that's going to be there, though. And I will have that removable, by the way, so I could see what's underneath it. I can clean out what's underneath it. And if I really want to, you could have it raised back to the normal deck height. If you don't like that hole there, let's say, I can return it to the original deck height. I think it's a cool idea. So here's what I use. I use this to make my epoxy. It's silicone. Mix it all up in there using my wife's mixer. Works real good. And all I do is use brushes. I don't use the rollers. I have the rollers for rolling fiberglass and that. I've tried it, and another unconventional thing I do is I've actually used some Bondo, fiberglass reinforced Bondo, long strand fiberglass reinforced Bondo. And that fills in sides more easily for me. I've tested it. The epoxy sticks to it fine. The Bondo's hard as heck. I don't know why, fine, I use Bondo. It sounds strange, but heck, we're just using foam here for this part, so I got so much epoxy on this thing. You can see here, it kind of settles at the lowest point, even though you take your brush, you pick it back up, you want to keep the sides wet as long as possible, and it still settles, which is fine because it adds strength. It's really strong right there, and then it actually settled in the keel here. You can see where it kind of settles. This is actually my first one that I did. I had so much resin down there, it's pathetic. So then I started to get better, and now it's just, there's less of a puddle because I use less resin, and I wet it, and I stay here longer to kind of wet the sides so that, it stays wet as it dries. And I like this method, instead of having to go to take fiberglass and to put it over the top of this is a pain in the butt. I've actually tried some of it. It'll bubble up, and it wants to keep its original form, the fiberglass. The glass does not bend much. It's hard enough just sticking it into a radius like this, But, this is not hard. But if it's a tighter radius, it wants to stay straight. And especially if you don't have, if you have it up in the air like this, it's hard to fold it over. So I don't. I just go up the sides, and I'll seal the foam part later. I'll go up the sides, leave a little bit of 1/4 inch at least over there, and then I'll fill that in with resin or something. And then by doing so, like I said before, I can adjust the height of the stringer as I go, as I test it. Like here, I lowered it. And then another thing different that I'm gonna do, the deck, I'm gonna leave this open. Previously, this was closed up and they had spray foam in there. I'm gonna leave that part of this was open over here. This was not open. I'm gonna leave it open so I can have water come back here. I could see it if it's dirty, if there's even water. And then I'm gonna put a hole here so they can drain to the bilge area. So this boat will never again hold water. At least if you lift the front of the boat up, let everything drain to the back, it'll never hold water again. It's not gonna have foam in it anymore. It will have foam board. I'm gonna put the foam in here, but it's gonna be that, the 4x8 sheets cut, placed on edge, and it'll allow water to drain off of it. So we'll have foam in it. And if y'all think there's still not enough foam, what I'm also doing is I'm turning the cap of the boat over. I'm gonna flip it over so that the bottom of it is exposed. And I'm gonna put spray foam in the sides. Like here, the cap goes on this area here, right? But the whole top of the cap has a big space, and that space I'm gonna fill up with foam. So that'll be neat. This is fun. It's a slow process. It's a messy process. I don't use gloves. I just do like two sections at a time, 2 pieces of fiberglass at a time. And I just go from there. I've got Pusa board that I'm working with that there's some right here. It's gonna be underneath the lower deck. I've got green board. This stuff actually cuts really nice. You could shape with it easy. And I've got this Divicel, or however you pronounce it. I don't like it as much as the green stuff. I actually like the green stuff better. And it looks like the green stuff has tighter cells. So, but I have both. That big board's made with the Divicel. So cool, fun project. We'll get there eventually. Getting that back deck done was a cool step. Getting these done. This has 2 here and 2 here and is solid as a rock. And it'll be glued to that bottom of the deck. You can see where it only has, this has none on this side and only 1 on this side, and it moves. It's still strong, but it's only got 1 piece of fiberglass on it. It will have 4 when I'm done with it. And with 4, these stringers are like rocks. With that, I think it's called 1708. With that stuff, that's this stuff. But Rojo's is so much better. Rojo's is easier to lay. It's just a much better fiberglass fiberglass stuff. Whatever, however you pronounce that. And then up here, I still haven't done more than putting the foam in. And I drilled holes here where some of the wood was weak. I left it there because I drilled holes, and that's all getting filled up with fiberglass. It's really soaking up a lot of fiberglass. I put in a little at a time, let it settle, let it dry, put in some more. Kind of a neat project. It'll be neat, it'll be custom, it'll have a lower floor in front of the seats. It'll have my motor that I won't say rebuilt, but I replaced some stuff on it and got it back together and running. I don't know if you remember that had so much trash in the sump in the oil pan, and some of the bearings were toast, so I replaced the bearings and pieced it all together. What they did is there was a rebuild done on that engine, that Yamaha, supposedly, and they never cleaned the oil pan out. So they started it back up, and then like 2 months later, the thing ran dry of oil, I guess, because the oil pickup was clogged. What a bunch of idiots. They rebuild an engine like that and never clean out the oil pan. So I cleaned it out, replaced some of the bearings, put it all back together, and she runs fine. I still got to finalize its tuning, but it runs good. Cool, neat project. That's my update. Wish me luck. Hopefully, I got my father-in-law coming in January, and we'll put the cap back on. By then, I got to finish up the stringers. I got to foam up the cap. I got to finish the deck, and we'll go from there. Wish me luck. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.